So you have your first show, and you want to use some familiar talent. What's it going to cost? What are some of the things you need to be aware of up front? We're going to talk about that and so much more coming up. Hey guys, Ryan here from Indy Wrestling School, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing below. We put out new videos every single Thursday for 3-Minute Thursday. So this one's sort of a loaded question. How do you deal with, for lack of a better term, we're going to call them the names in pro wrestling? And that's the people you've seen on TV, whether it's ECW, WCW, WWE, TNA, ROH, any of those, they're going to cost a little bit more, or in some cases, a lot more than your local talent. And the idea behind that, of course, is they've been on TV, people can identify with them, they know who they are, so people will pay a little bit more money to see those guys than Joe Nobody. So first things first, how do you find these guys? And there's a number of different ways. I mean, a quick Google search for pro wrestling bookings, you can find a number of different reputable people, but you'll also find some shady people. There's some people out there who will take your money, so it's hard to know who you can trust and who you can deal with. I've found very few booking agents that I can actually trust. The best way for me, and the way that I usually will book talent, is through somebody else that I know. So I might not know, let's use Shane Douglas as an example, I might not know Shane Douglas, but I'm using John Finnegan, who refereed for ECW, and he knows Shane's phone number, or maybe he doesn't know his phone number, but he knows somebody who knows his phone number, and I can get direct contact with him to book Shane for one of our shows. Now normally up front, whatever the price is, let's say the price is $100 for somebody, which is very low, and I wouldn't expect to pay that for somebody you've seen on TV. I mean, the lowest I've ever seen for anybody who's been on TV is around $300, $350, and then they go well up to $5,000. So I mean, you're talking about a wide range there. But let's say you're going to spend $100, and that's the booking rate you agreed upon with a particular talent. Expect to send 50% up front. That's typical, and when the talent has a relationship with you, they'll usually let that slide, but initially, you know, they've been screwed over before, so they want their money up front, just in case you're not a serious promoter, which hopefully if you're watching this, you are a serious promoter. The other thing is, if you're flying somebody in or they're gonna drive in, you need to figure out that you need to book a hotel for them. And if you do, you need to factor that into your budget. Now, if you're flying somebody in, you want to book that flight pretty much the same time you're booking them, because prices will go up, and usually they won't actually consider it to be a real booking until they get their flight information, if it's somebody that you need to fly out. Now, how do you properly use them on your show? I mean, it depends. Most of the time, there are some guys out there who will not lose. I've dealt with a number of WWE legends in the past who just flat out will not lose. Not be a pinfall, not be a submission. So you have to get creative. Maybe you have to add a third person in there, and that third person has to take the fall. Maybe it has to be a count out. Maybe it has to be a disqualification. Maybe the other person just leaves. So I know the general instinct when you're first running a show is that you want to have your top talent against a name that's been on TV, and you want your top talent to defeat that said name. And I'm here to tell you that most of the time that's wrong. And the reason that's wrong is because the general audience, who is, you know, maybe they're getting used to your promotion, maybe it's your first show, maybe it's your second show, whatever the case is, odds are they're going to be rooting for the name they saw on TV, and they don't want that person to lose. If you are thinking about making the name talent lose, you need to do it in a way where they can leave with their head held high. So if they do lose, at the end they knock down the heels, or whatever the case is, and you send the crowd home happy, because they came, a lot of them came, to see that particular name. The other thing to consider is look for talent that's local to your area, because that saves you on airfare and hotel and everything like that. And a lot of times talent will actually charge less if they are local, because they don't have to spend a day or two away from their family. If they have to make an hour drive, that's much easier to digest than a 2-hour flight, plus 2 hours in the airport, an hour to the airport, and then all night in the hotel, all of that stuff. So I've seen talent where, you know, they'll charge $500 in North Carolina, but in New Jersey they want $1,500 just for their time and all the added expenses. And that's in addition to a flight and hotel. So if you can, look for people who are local to your area, because it'll save you a significant amount of money, not just in hotels and airfare, but in their actual booking fee as well. That's all for this video. If you guys like this one, beat the shit out of the like button, and I'll see you next week for 3-Minute Thursday.